Welcome back, young and old, to another epic episode of Mac Music Review. In this very special episode, I'm going to be talking about the best albums of the year 2022. A interesting year for music, a year of music that I would like to surmise by talking about the best albums of the year. Before hopping into the top 10, I have 8 honorable mentions, which I'm just going to list off. Hopefully, not take me too long. The first honorable mention is the Arctic Monkeys album, The Car. Guys, The Car. I love this album. I really, really liked it. Like, honestly, I wasn't really expecting them to pull through for another amazing album because I really love Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. I still like that album better than The Car, but The Car is just a banger. It's just produced really well. It sounds really good. Good album. Next honorable mention is the Pup album, The Unraveling of Pup the Band. A really, really great album, but it kind of fails to have a lot of staying power, in my opinion. It's really great while it's on, and it just fails to leave the impact and mark that Morbid Stuff had. But that's a really hard album to follow because Morbid Stuff is an incredible album. JID had a really great album that the more I listened to it, the less I liked it. I was blown away on the first few listens, and then as I came back to it, I'm like, it's not really my style, not really my speed, not really my vibe. But it's still a great album, great rap album. The Black Midi album, Hellfire, I did not like as much as Cavalcade, but it's still worthy of being an honorable mention. I didn't love this as much as a lot of people, but I still think it's a pretty great album with really great production and some really great, memorable lyrics and songwriting also. The new Nas record is my favorite of his King's Disease trilogy. King's Disease 3 is just super solid, and it didn't make my top 10, but there is plenty of rap music in this top 10 list, so stick around, even though Nas didn't quite make it. The new Mountain Goats album, if this was a top 11 albums, the Mountain Goats record would be 11. That is Bleed Out. Bleed Out is incredible. I love it. But it didn't have the individual songs. I love the album, I love the record, but the individual songs did not have the staying power of the albums that beat it out. Just barely though. Just this one album that barely edged it out, and I'll get to that in a second. Yard Act. This was the top 12 albums of this year. This Yard Act album, the Overload would be number 12 because incredible debut album. It's got a lot of personality. It is not the most listenable album. It's just not. The music doesn't necessarily. The songs just maybe mostly probably because of the vocals, the way they're kind of like talk sung. It makes it a very entertaining album, but just not something that you can throw on or listen to very often. And my last album is the Rosalia album. It's really good. I don't know why the name of the album is escaping me at the moment, but it's also in Spanish, so I have no idea what she's saying. She has a beautiful voice, great album. Let's hop into the top 10 of 2022. Chloe and the Next 20th Century is an album that a lot of people are not vibing with this year. A lot of album that turned a lot of fans off, I'm sure, because it is just so different from everything that Father John Misty has done in the past. I personally think the album is gorgeous. I love the lush orchestral instrumentation on this entire album, and I personally vibe with it a lot. I don't necessarily. I don't know how high it would rank if I had to rank the Father John Misty albums, but it is just a beautiful record. I mean, it's just a beautiful album that I can just keep coming back to. And that last song is definitely one of my favorite songs of the year. I'll link my favorite songs of the year video in the description. Number 9 was supposed to be that Mountain Goats record, but I kind of switched them out because I really like I Love You, Jennifer B., the Jockstrap debut album. And the Jockstrap actually has been around for a little bit, but this is the first Jockstrap album, or the first thing of theirs at all that I've ever listened to. I recognized the EP cover for like Wicked City, I think it was called, but I just never listened to it. And this blew me away. I mean, Concrete Over Water, Jennifer B., Glasgow, the whole album just has so much energy and fun to it. It's such a creative and colorful record. It's just something that's very eye-grabbing, something very ear-grabbing. It just grabs your attention and gives you so many bops. And it's a really good album. Dawn FM, yes! I'll say it right now, and I don't think this will change, but I mean, as of now, this is my favorite Weeknd album. I think Dawn FM is just a killer pop album from front to back, all killer, like no filler. The production, the performances, it's just got the energy, it's got the vibes, it's got everything that he was going for it. He, dabbled in the 80s with the album After Hours, but I think he just mastered that craft of 80s imitation in the best possible way with Dawn FM. I don't like pop music. I love this album. This is a guy you may not have heard of, Ian No, the album River Fools and Mountain Saints. It's a really cool album. It's just a really great country album. And the thing that I love the most about this album is the storytelling and the many, many layers and depth and things and themes and so much going on that you really can't fully grasp even the first few times you listen to it. And so I put it at number 7 above these other albums, not because I've listened to it a lot, but because I know that it's going to be a very rewarding album over time, because it already has been rewarding with some of these tracks. Appalachian Haze and the Old Man's, I don't remember the name of the song, I'm sorry, but this is a country album that I can actually get behind. Big Steppers, the new Kendrick album. This is way higher on this list that you may think if you've seen my review of the album. I'll link it in the description. It was a very quick review, just quick thoughts after listening to the album like twice all the way through or whatever. There is a lot of meat on these bones, on the bones of this album. There's a whole lot to get out of it. Just like that Ian No album, the reason this album is this high on this list is because, not because of just me loving it to death, but me knowing that this is something I will come back to over and over and over again and continue to get more out of. So much going on musically, so much going on lyrically. Kendrick is at the top of his game, as he always is. Maybe not peak of his game, but he is very good on the record, as he always is. My favorite rapper in terms of rapping ability is Kendrick Lamar. It's a great album. Check it out. This was a really, really good surprise. A really, really happy surprise for me was discovering the album Laughing So Hard It Hurts by Mavi. Pitchfork gave it Best New Music. I've never heard of the artist before. And I just loved this guy's sound. I loved his flows. I loved these beats. It really does have kind of a, underground hip hop, like Earl Sweatshirt, kind of the underbelly of hip hop, like the more indie stuff, the really hip indie stuff. That's the vibe of this album. So if you like Earl Sweatshirt, I think you would vibe with this guy. Good lyrical content too. There's a lot to unpack lyrically. Just great beats, great flows. I love this album. Speaking of Earl Sweatshirt, here he is with the album Sick, an album that very early on I knew would be my album of the, not necessarily album of the year. I knew it would be my rap album of the year, and it's not even that. Number 3 topped it, which is I'm so happy about, because wow, I found an album better than this one is a big deal, because I love Sick. I love how short it is. I love the vibes, the textures of these songs. It is just, I love so many of the songs. It has so many bangers on it. 2010, Vision, Tabla Rasa, Fire in the Hole, and those little in-between parts. I think the whole album just comes together very well and very nicely, and it is my most listened to album of 2022 for a reason. Massive surprise, especially given how I didn't absolutely love Alfredo like so many people did. Soul Sold Separately is my favorite rap album of 2022. This thing goes so hard in the paint. The way I describe this album to my friends, because I know some people who are Freddie Gibbs fans who are not even big on the album, or haven't even. Some people, I introduce them. I'm like, hey, there's a new Freddie Gibbs album. They're like, oh, really? I didn't even know. And I'm like, yeah, and it's amazing. How I would describe the album is it's a mixture of banger Freddie Gibbs, like him in banger mode, and him in his artsy jazzy mode that you see on like Alfredo and Pinata. It's kind of a combination of the two, and I think it's kind of the best of both worlds. I feel pretty confident saying this is my favorite Freddie Gibbs album, right ahead of Pinata. But maybe Pinata's better. I don't know. What I do know is that I love this album. Another huge surprise. Guys, I was not a Big Thief fan. I have a brother who's a huge Big Thief fan, and I did not vibe with any of their music. I thought it was just way overly artsy, way overly weird. And then they make this album with this massive title, Dragon, New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You, or something like that. And wow, it was something. It was very good. Just amazing songwriting, amazing music, very very beautiful singer-songwriter cuts on this thing. Very beautiful folksy stuff on this thing. And I love it. It's really nice. The number one spot is going to Black Country New Road. Ants from Up There. And full disclosure, this might be the best album of the decade. It might be the best album of the 2020s. I think I like it more than my album of the year in 2020 and 2021, which was Fetch the Bolt Cutters and For Those I Love, respectively. This is an album that just blows my mind every time I listen to it, the intricacies of it. It really feels like a modern day Arcade Fire Funeral, but I like this album more than Funeral by Arcade Fire, honestly. Like, it's got that grand feeling to it, that timeless feeling to it, that feeling like half of the tracks are classics, like half of these tracks are masterpieces and the others are amazing. The ones that are not masterpiece level are amazing. Like, it's just so richly dense and emotional, and I dare say spiritual. It's special. It's something else. And that's what I got for you guys today. I'm getting all these little notifications popping up. My McAfee free security thing expired, and I'm getting those little notifications that are like, your computer is infected with viruses, and you're gonna die, and they have all of your data right now. And so I'm panicking. I'm probably an idiot, but I'm panicking, and so I'm gonna right now pay for the yearly subscription. It's not crazy expensive, and it's worth it if I can get a little bit of cybersecurity. You know what I'm saying? But I'm freaking out. So thanks for watching the video. Let me know your top 10 albums. Do you agree with any of these placements? Do you disagree with any of these placements? Are there any albums that I didn't even mention in my honorable mentions and the top 10? I would like to know if there's any, because I probably have heard it. I listened to so much music in 2022, but I really would like to hear what you were listening to this year and what your favorites are, and if I missed anything significantly, like missed entirely, or if anything I put on here is trash. If you hate any of the albums that are in my top 10 or honorable mentions, let me know, and have a great rest of your day.